Be modest and simple in your deportment and treat with indifference whatever lies between virtue and vice. That was said by Marcus Aurelius, and today we'll cover why everybody should live a modest, simple life, how that differs with minimalism, and why it's the ultimate way to live. So let's dive in. Modesty is the quality of being moderate. It relates to limiting yourself from unnecessary pursuits like buying expensive clothes, drinking and doing drugs, or just acting recklessly to impress people. Most of you watching this have heard of modesty in religious terms, and I say that as a person of Orthodox Christian background who has lived in and been in many religious places like Mount Athos in Greece, the Vatican, and Islamic sites throughout Turkey and the Arab world. And essentially, all the religions preach about modesty as a thing, as a way of preserving dignity and respect. But don't get it twisted. This video has nothing to do with modesty in religious terms, so just throw that out of the window. Another thing, a lot of men say they want to live like Stoics. Well, here's your fucking chance, because the lifestyle of modesty is perfectly suited for a Stoic man. And Xenophon, the philosopher who inspired Zeno, the father of Stoicism, said, "Men who respond to good fortune with modesty are harder to find than those who face adversity with courage." Modesty is a rare quality. It's a virtue of rare birth. Not everybody can control their emotions enough to not buy the overly expensive car, or be gluttonous, or binge watch TV shows when they should be going to sleep. That's okay. Living a meaningful life is not for everybody. Meaningful is subjective. Well, not so much if you ask me. My definition of meaningful life is being more a value producer than a value consumer, and I'll explain. You have people who mostly consume. They don't create anything of greater value to society. Those are your value consumers. Then you have value producers, people who build things that help a lot of people. So while your average value consumer does one task a day, maybe, and consumes for the rest of the day, your value producer also does one task, but on a larger scale, with more leverage, using technology and influencing the society in a greater way, hence helping more people in the process. I'll get a ton of hate for this, but one example of a value producer is Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook and Meta. The man lives a modest lifestyle, and besides all you think of him, he made something world-changing that you and I use on a daily basis. We get value from what he made on a daily basis. Nobody can take that away from him. So turn off your emotions about him, because he made everyone's life easier. It's okay. This way of living is not for everyone, but I'm talking to you. Living a modest, value-producing lifestyle is for you. So let's explore something similar to living modestly that you probably heard about before. It's called minimalism. Minimalism was a big trend in the YouTube space a few years ago. Everybody was a minimalist, and the whole point of the movement is rejecting consumerism and owning only the things that serve a certain purpose and have meaning. And that's cool, but a lot of people who preached minimalism ended up dropping it after some time and making videos like why I'm not a minimalist anymore. So there definitely seems to be a problem within the movement, and that's where I want to introduce modesty, a more deliberate way of minimalism. Now, how is a modest life different from living a minimalist life? Well, the problem with minimalism is that it only looks at the mechanical purpose of the things we own. They look for a task usage of an object. Does this thing do any work? Does it open a bottle? Can I eat with it? Does it make me more productive? Like, am I reading this coffee table book, or is it just sitting there to look nice? And that's all fine. Things need to have function. But the truth is that the coffee table book was never supposed to be read. It's there because it looks nice. And the same thing happens when people tell bodybuilders like, dude, all that muscle, but you can't fight. They connect muscles with fighting, but the function of a bodybuilder is to look jacked on stage. Literally, it's the only point in the sport. A modest person, however, looks at things in terms of multi-dimensional meaning. They would pick up a book and say, well, this is not a good read, it's not written well, but it's a good decorative piece. Let's put it in the corner next to the sofa on the table, so that when I enter the room, I see a clean interior design and it gives me good feels. Modesty is not only looking to remove, have as little things and be as minimal as possible. It's looking to find a purpose for people and objects in different environments and with different mechanisms. And that's what separates a minimalist and a modest person, and why modesty, the way I see it, is a superior way to look at life. But let's talk more modesty in life situations. Modesty is also about getting the right amount, not inherently balancing things, but just making sure you don't go overboard or underboard with life experiences. It's like that one saying, leave the party right after the best moment, because the only difference between poison and medicine is the dose. When you work out, you don't want to overtrain. When you drink, you don't want to get so drunk that you have to throw up later. When you watch self-development YouTube videos, you don't want to watch too many because all the information will mesh up and then you will take no action. Yes, I'm talking to you. It's about being modest in your pursuits. Skip this if you don't care. Personal example, I take a maximum of 250 milligrams of caffeine per day. Sometimes I take the full dose, sometimes I don't take any at all. But the only reason I'm not hooked on caffeine yet is because I have boundaries. And the best way to find your boundaries is by testing. And I'm not saying go test the amount of cocaine you can snort in one night and still be fine. We're talking about healthy stuff here. But the way you're going to do it is take less one day, then take more the next one, and then take the middle dose on the third day. See what feels the best and take that as your boundary. It's literally about getting the most bang for your buck. Too much coffee for me gives me shakiness and anxiety. With too little, life is just shit. But between 100 and 250 milligrams, that shit slaps and life is just way better with it. And you can apply this principle to almost anything. Relationships, food, working, traveling, forming new habits. I can go on and on. So that's all about being a modest person for material and non-material things and experiences. But what you're missing is how to decide between what is valuable and what has meaning and what doesn't have. So how to decide between what to keep and what to remove. Marcus Aurelius has the answer. He writes, "We ought to lay them bare and look at their worthlessness and strip them of all the words by which they are exalted." And by this, he means that we strip away all the things we have from their flashiness and the strong feelings we have for them and get them down to the most basic functions, benefits, and negatives to see if they are really worth having. He makes a good point when he says that sex is only rubbing your body parts against each other and then having spasms. And while I don't agree with him that sex is only that, he really undressed the whole point and led me to an answer. That argument led me to an answer that sex is only worth having with someone that you choose to have it with consciously and without any lust impacting your emotions. So his statement led to me discovering something more about myself and led me to forming an actual opinion about a matter. This simplification of certain objects and experiences will lead you to making a good decision of whether to keep something or to remove it. If you decide that it's worth keeping, keep it. If you don't decide that it's worth keeping, just remove it and never look back on your decision. The last thing I want to catch up on is more of an advice from me to my younger audience. So if you don't want the advice, just skip to the next section, but it's that you don't need a designer shirt. $100 sneakers are just fine. And if you have a room, a bed, food, and an internet access, that's all you need. It's not all you should get. You should strive for more, but it's all you need to start. So don't be a celebrity. Don't convince yourself that you need a gold chain because it gives you confidence and that it's meaningful to buy because of that. If you need some gold and silver on your neck, if you need an expensive car, if you need some designer thing that's produced in China for like $20 to be confident, then that's a deeper problem. So practice your judgment with the Marcus Aurelius technique, and over time you will get better at making decisions on what is meaningful and what you should keep and remove from your life. End of story. To recap everything, living modestly means limiting yourself from unnecessary physical possessions and experiences. It's not minimalism. It's way better because it not only looks at the function of things, it looks to find purpose in a multi-dimensional way. It also teaches you to find and set boundaries and strip things to their core without the influence of your emotions or other people's vanity. Then and only then do you make a decision on keeping or removing someone or something from your life. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.